Welcome back to Fantasy Insider. It's that time of the year where we start to look back on the year that was and say, what can we change for the next season? Fantasy-wise, we always want more from our top performers, and to find out what they can give us as the calendar turns, we turn to New York City via Cisco telepresence from Bleacher Report, Jared Zwerling. Jared, thanks so much for joining us. We know that we're going to be a little greedy here, but tell us, what can a guy like Kyrie Itving do, especially when it comes to shooting, that will help our fantasy team?
Well, first of all, Kyrie's an explosive scorer in transition, off pick and rolls with the three-point shooting. He's great in those areas, but a lot of point guards struggle with their mid-range game, and that's the biggest thing with Kyrie Itving. Really getting into the paint, making smart plays, making smart decisions. Sometimes he rushes his shot. A lot of step-back jumpers you saw in the game yesterday. So that's the biggest thing with him. You have to get more of a flow in the mid-range game, but he's doing a great job lately. You know, over 50% from the field. So you're seeing some progression, which is great to see. But that shooting percentage is still pretty low, around 42%. So he needs to do a better job in the mid-range game. And I think if he solidifies that, it'll help the rest of the team, especially with three-point shooting and elsewhere.
Only two players in the NBA take more shots per game than Kyrie Itving. How about another point guard who shoots an awful lot? That's Kemba Walker. He is 19th among point guards, Jared, in terms of field goal percentage.
Another guy who takes a lot of step-back jumpers as well. And Steve Clifford, the coach for the Bobcats, said the biggest thing with Kemba this season is his pick-and-roll game. We're really learning the system, learning to be patient. He's a very explosive scorer to the rim, but I think sometimes he likes to fall back a lot, not really attack as well. But, you know, I think if the Bobcats had a much better offense, really, that would really help the Bobcats, their future. Their defense is one of the best in the league. A great transition from last year to this season. But if Kemba could really get his offense going, that would really help the Bobcats' offense. He's a great clutch performer down the stretch, but if he can bring that consistency across the game, really with the mid-range game and making smarter decisions, just like Kyrie as well. A lot of point guards, like I said today, have a lot of great creativity off pick and rolls and very great getting to the rim. But as far as being smart in the mid-range game is a very key for these point guards today.
No, I think Kyrie Itving and Kemba Walker are very similar guys, and they grew up in the same neck of the woods, New York and New Jersey, respectively. But when you focus on Kemba, with the options around him, he's got more talent than he ever has. But his assists, Jared, are down 1 from last year. Does he need to distribute the ball a little more and shoot a little less?
I think so, and I think Michael Kidd-Gilchrist going down with that broken hand definitely affected the team. He was showing some good strides. Jeffrey Taylor as well. He was showing great strides too. So the injuries have affected that team's offense. He had some nice options really in transition when you had Kidd-Gilchrist on the one wing, Jeffrey Taylor on the other wing. What a great combination that was with Kemba pushing the ball. So those options have really hurt the team as far as their offensive options. So hopefully Josh McRoberts might get some looks. You know, Gerald Henderson's a great player. Maybe he'll do some things. So I think he has some nice young talent, but he's missing some pieces right now.
Just for some perspective, the best shooting point guard in the NBA this year, Tony Parker, at about 50%. Walker and Irving are hovering around 40%. Let's move to another point guard, and it was the goal of Damian Lillard over the summer, Jared, to get better defensively, but he's not given us the steals that would really fill out our fantasy leagues.
I agree. It's very interesting because you mentioned, Jared, his comments last year. This season, when I watch him play, he relaxes too much. He doesn't really do a lot of full court pressure. He likes to relax behind the three-point line, not really understanding pick-and-roll defense. Look at the Blazers' offense, one of the best in the league, but their defense giving up almost 103 points per game. So that balance will really affect them down the stretch this season. They have to get much better on defense. They're still a young team. I don't think it's just Lillard. I think it's also the rest of the guys. I think they have to do a better job communicating. I think LaMarcus Aldridge needs to do a better job communicating to Lillard about reading pick and rolls. He's not as observant. He's not as decisive in those situations. He likes to kind of react to the point guard first, not really coming up to the point guard and really setting the tone. So I think if he can do a better job working with his big men, and collectively, I think they'll do a better job defensively. That's the biggest weakness for the Blazers, no question about it.
James Harden is still a fantastic fantasy option, but across the board, his numbers are down, including his three-point percentage is a career low.
He's never been a great three-point shooter, Jared, around 39, 38%. This season he's taken a big dip to about 31, 32%. I don't know the exact numbers, but it's really looked poorly. Now, the thing that I noticed with James Harden, the looks that he's taking aren't rush looks. He's taking the flow of the offense. And what's interesting is that you're seeing that video right now. Defenders are really giving him that shot right now. Why? Because he's struggling. I think Harden needs to find the flow, really get into the basket, really showing his guys that he can take them to the hole and make plays. and put more pressure on the defense, because right now he likes to lay back a lot, takes a lot of three-point shots, not really in the flow of the offense, but he is getting some good looks. I like that, but I think it needs to be more in the structure of the offense.
Jared, we're looking at James Harden's last 3 games, and they touched upon it on Game Time last night, and I love your column on BleacherReport.com right now about the amount of injuries in the NBA. Is his foot or ankle or whatever it's been that's ailing him all year, is that a direct impact on these numbers being so all over the place?
I think somewhat, yes, especially with his shooting. As I mentioned, the looks are pretty good, but his shots looks a little flat. In fact, if you watch a lot of his misses, Jared, they're actually front rim misses. So it kind of shows with his legs, with his slow release. Like I said, he looks patient, but I think that patience reflects his injury. But yes, I do see some effect with his shooting for sure. He's not attacking as strongly, but I think as he weaves into this offense, they're still a young team. They're still learning how to play off each other, him and Dwight Howard. So I think there's some potential for James Harden. He's still one of the best scorers in the league, Jared, so he's showing that he can still score the basketball. But some more patience, more flow in the offense, I think that he'll get there because right now I like what they're doing, and I think the point guard situation has affected that team too. Patrick Beverley to Jeremy Lin, they both have had injuries. They both really haven't been working with James Harden consistently, so that's also affected James Harden's game as well. He's having to run a lot of point forward, so he's also adjusting to his role this season too. But I think he'll get there. He's one of the top players in the league, and he'll figure it out.
All right, our go-to guy from BleacherReport.com, Jared Zwerling. Thanks so much for checking in. Have a very, very happy New Year, and we'll see you in 2014.
You too. Thanks, Jared.